So let's fly over the Mnambithi Tvet College campuses. Mnambithi, the sweet tasting one, when Shaka was in the area and he tasted the water from the Klip River. That's how he described it, and that's what this Tvet is named after. But we're not going to start with the Klip River. We're going to start with the Great Tugela River. And we're going to fly over the Lesotho highlands and get into the Drakensberg World Heritage Site and take a look at the Sterkfontein Dam on your left and the Woodstock Dam on your right. Both fairly recently built in the 1970s and the 1980s. And you can see that line running ahead of you. That's the Drakensberg Escarpment. And what happens is you have a key divide over here with the water on your left running down Paputachaba way all the way to the Vaal Dam, all the way to the whole industrial complex, the coal mines, the gold mines, the coal fields, all that stuff going on over there. And then just as you move a little bit to the right, over here you have one of the world's highest falls, the Tugela Falls, falling right over and down into the Tugela Gorge, with the river running down into the Woodstock Dam. And what's happened is, because of the huge demand for water in Gauteng and all those mining projects, the Woodstock Dam has got canals and huge pumps pumping the water up over the Drakensberg Escarpment into the Sterkfontein Dam, so it can be used for Gauteng if they run out of water or if there's a drought there or something. It's called the Tugela Vaal Transfer Scheme. And what's super cool about it is that the water can also flow down from the Sterkfontein Dam through the huge pipes, generating hydroelectricity. Now we are currently in the Ukaglambe Drakensberg World Heritage Site. What I want to show you is how this whole area has to be co-managed by Ezemvelo on the one side, who tasked with ensuring that they manage protected areas and promote ecotourism, and then the local and traditional communities in the area who have to live, eat and survive in this area, often to some extent slightly antagonistically with the attempt to promote ecotourism and beautiful green hills. So now we're flying over the Woodstock Dam and the gorgeous Banana Bridge, flying towards Ladysmith, following the Tugela and the Little Tugela River. And as we go over Winterton, you'll see a hugely successful irrigation scheme that was started in 1902 for small farmers in the area, and it's been continuously managed and it's now still successful and going. 30-kilometer canals have been dug through the area to ensure consistent irrigation for over 100 years. And as we keep tracking the Tugela River, we're going to get to the point where it actually meets the Klip River, the place that Shaka called so sweet tasting, the place actually which Tvet College is named after, mnambithi, sweet tasting. Now, mnambithi used to be a Bantustan, and it was incorporated with Ladysmith in 2001. And what happened was, with all the forced relocations in the 1970s and the 80s, all the people were forced to locate into eZakheni, this new kind of township zone which we're traveling through, in which 3 of the campuses are located. And between Ladysmith and eZakheni, you'll see the classic border area industrial zone, where industries were created during apartheid with subsidies to take advantage of low wages and poor working conditions. Now, the first campus we're visiting, the E campus, has quite a strong focus on the engineering side of the qualifications. It also does all sorts of short skills. So you can do carpentry there, you can do auto repairs, and you can do welding. The other important thing to note is that it doesn't really go beyond a N3. And you can see even from above that the campus is struggling a bit. The roofs are not that good condition. They're rusting. They're struggling with decent equipment in the workshops. And I must say, Mnambithi as a whole is definitely struggling in comparison to its richer neighbor, Majuba, which is just down the road in Newcastle. Majuba has far more partnerships, far more work integrated learning setups, because it is located in Newcastle, a far wealthier and more industrialized area. Now we're flying over to the A campus, and you'll very quickly see that the A campus is a far better state of affairs. It's actually a really nice campus. Now it's there that you can do the electrical engineering N4 to N6 if you want. And you can also do the NCV in engineering. But it has all sorts of other qualifications. So you can do office administration, and you can do finance, economics and accounting. You can do all those management qualifications, finance and HR and business and public management. And you can be a management assistant over there. And as far as I know, it's also got a resident system. Now, as we pull out and we look at Ladysmith, I want you to look to the left for Roosboom, and I want you to look to the right for Driefontein. I've marked them out for you so you can see them. Those were the black spots. Those were the places where black people under the missionaries were able to buy land and start up their own petty bourgeois independent existence. And when they got closed down in apartheid times, guess where they went? eZakheni. So now we're in the white kind of old technical college of Ladysmith. And this does the business studies side. So you can do things like financial management and HR management, and you can become a management assistant and all that kind of stuff. You can also do tourism and hospitality. You can do IT and computer studies, and you can also do education and development. Now, if we pull out of the Ladysmith campus, you'll see that there's another campus just down the road from that. And understand that to be the central office where the administration of the college is actually done. But as we circle it, I want to talk about those Christian Zulus in the black spots. They're called the Kolwa. Okay, so what happened was, under the missionaries, they were able to buy land. And what happened was they kind of developed like an African middle class during apartheid, forming like a rentier class where they were able to rent out their land to other desperate black guys who were looking for land. And when they got kicked off those lands, that's where they had to go to, eZakheni. Now, that's the interesting history we need to understand in terms of TVET and the way that education and development and industry and class works. But if you're doing tourism and you're in Ladysmith, you cannot ignore the fact that you've got Spionkop. And that's where historically the Boers defeated the British in the Anglo-Boer War. But what makes it really interesting for me is you actually had Churchill there. He was a reporter. He was the future Prime Minister of Great Britain. Then you've got Mahatma Gandhi there. He was actually a stretcher bearer working in that. And on top of that, you had Louis Botha, who after this became one of the presidents, I think the first president of the South African Republic. So it was a huge battle on that hill, which both sides fought themselves to oblivion actually, and both thought they had lost. And when the British retreated and left, the Boers were super surprised the next morning when they found out that they'd actually won. There were only actually 2 guys left on top of the kopje. So now I want to move across to the final campus. We're moving over the beautiful Spionkop Dam, and we're going to move over that territory I talked about where they'd done all that interesting irrigation from the 1900s all the way through to now to ensure that small farmers actually beat those big farmers who were actually industrialists who'd made their money on the mines and the diamonds, who were buying huge swathes of lands. And this was an attempt to make sure that small farmers, granted they were white, had the chance to actually farm and actually make a living in the area. And we're traveling through to a favorite town of mine, Escourt. Not because of the pork and the sausages from Escourt that you know of, which I think most of us have bought unless you're a vegan, like I am most of the time. But the reason why it's a favorite town of mine is when I was a teacher, I used to come here with my learners from Sandown High School. And we used to do a swimming tour over here and then go and do the Midmar. Now, this Escort campus is new. It used to be a short skills training center, come security, come nursing college. But since they've invested in the college, they've put in a new computer center, they've put in new equipment. And that's why you can do safety and security over there. The police qualification that enables you to enter the lucrative police force. But you can also do office administration and finance, economics and accounting. You can do all the management programs over there. And right next to it, just over the railway line, is Escort High School. The school we swam against as Sandown High School. It was started in 1886. And then it had a boarding school built, pioneered agriculture, became a comprehensive school where it started to do technical and commercial subjects. So it's really important to understand those schools in relation to the TVET space, especially the NCV programs, which attempted to replace that grade 10, 11, 12 with technical subjects. Schools like Escort were dealing with those issues a lot earlier, and we could learn things from them in the longer run. And as we pull out and we get a view of all the campuses of mnambithi TVET College, I want you to think about the very different areas we visited. We started with those very traditional rural areas, often locked in kind of difficult struggles with places like Izimvelo and the whole attempt to conserve the area. And then we have those classic apartheid townships set up in the 1970s and 80s like eZakheni, and that was dealing with those black spots like Ruisboom and Driefontein, where you had the people who'd bought land there like the Kolwa, converted Christians who were trying to construct their own lives in this complex South African world, and who were driven to eZakheni once the apartheid government didn't want them there anymore. Then you have the classic white town like Ladysmith and Escort, often with an industrial area incentivized by the apartheid regime to try and take advantage of black labor, which we definitely saw at Ladysmith. And then finally you see, as you move out into the farming zones, the struggle between the white farmers and the small black farmers, and the innovative techniques that were going on there in terms of irrigation, and the struggle between the huge landowners, often coming from Cape Town and Joburg and buying huge tracts of land, and the small farmers trying to make a living in the area. And in all of that, we have mnambithi TVET College.